This is the Wheel of Time Spoilers podcast. Your hosts are Seth Jacobson and Patrick Heiler.
Hello, friends of the dark. This is the Dark Friends Social. And today, we're talking about Chapter 28, a new thread in the pattern, and our symbol is the wolf, because it's a Perrin chapter.
And the new thread in the pattern is the Aiel.
Yeah, we meet our first Aielman. Our second Aielman, if you count Rand.
I don't.
Yeah. Perrin watched the mountains of Kinslayer's dagger uncomfortably as he rode. The way still slanted upwards, and looked as if it would climb forever, though he thought the crest of the pass must not be too much further. To one side of the trail, the land sloped sharply down to a shallow mountain stream, dashing itself to froth over sharp rocks. To the other side, the mountains reared in a series of jagged cliffs, like frozen stone waterfalls. The trail itself ran through fields of boulders, some the size of a man's head, some as big as a cart. It would take no great skill to hide in that. The wolf said there were people in the mountains. Perrin wondered if they were some of Fane's dark friends.
So, who are the people in the mountains?
We don't know.
I think it's Aiel.
Why didn't I put that together? Because they're coming over Kinslayer's dagger, and what is it? Is it Uno or Massima? One of them says if there's one Aielman, there's more of them somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
Like as if they're talking about Whitetail or something. Yeah.
So even though they can hide from people, the wolves sense them.
Mm-hmm.
They just don't know enough to differentiate them from regular people.
Yeah.
The difference in height. They're like, they're just two legs.
Perrin notices that Matt's getting sicker.
Yeah, he's not really losing strength. He's just getting thinner and paler. He's going to feel healthy right up until the day he dies.
Yeah. Verin examined him 2 and 3 times a day now, frowning, and Perrin was sure she had even tried healing at least once, but it made no difference Perrin could see. In any case, she seemed to be more absorbed in something about which she did not speak. Perrin thinks she's thinking about Rand. I don't see what else it would be.
Oh, yeah. She's obsessed with Rand. She's like pushing the column to move faster.
The horn's up there, the dragon reborn. I mean, it's a sensible thing to be a little obsessive about. Ingtar let his horse fall back beside Perrin's. Sometimes, to Perrin's eyes, the crescent crest on the Shienaran's helmet looked like a Trollocs' horns. Ingtar said softly, "Tell me again what the wolf said." "I've told you 10 times, Perrin muttered. "Tell me again. Anything I may have missed. Anything that will help me find the horn." Ingtar drew a breath and let it out slowly. "I must find the horn of Valir, Perrin. Tell me again."
I like that little allusion to Trollocs' horns there.
Yeah, what's that about?
I think that's a little hint and a nudge from Jordan there.
He seems a little menacing in this scene. He's kind of, speaking aggressively, I guess.
Mm-hmm. And I think we were talking about how anyone thinking of glory or how they must find the horn simply can't.
And we suspect why Ingtar will never be able to get the horn, because he's thinking about the glory of it.
And it seems like the horn has to be lost before he can get to Cairhien.
Yeah. And so Rand and Loyal can get it because they don't care for it either way.
They're mostly trying to get the dagger for Matt. And obviously the horn to keep it away from the Dark Friends.
Yeah. And Fane is not thinking of glory either.
No. He's trying to get free.
Yeah.
And he's trying to lure Rand to him.
There was no need for Perrin to order it in his mind, not after so many repetitions. He droned it out. Someone, or something, attacked the Dark Friends in the night and killed those Trollocs we found. His stomach no longer lurched at that. Ravens and vultures were messy feeders. The wolves call him, or it, Shadow Killer. I think it was a man, but they wouldn't go close enough to see clearly. They are not afraid of this Shadow Killer. Awe is more like it.
Well, and we know Shadow Killer is Rand.
The dragon.
The dragon. Because he basically stumbled into the camp in the middle of the night and stole the horn. And then when he was attacked, he killed those Trollocs in the night with his sword, using the void.
Aradia is asking us, do the wolves name Rand Shadow Killer for killing the Trollocs or for being the dragon? And I was about to ask something similar. That do the wolves sense what he is? Or do they just know what he does?
I think it's a little bit like He Who Comes with the Dawn. It's both a name for something they know is coming and also an event, right? Like Rand fulfills the prophecy by coming with the dawn.
So He Who Comes with the Dawn is a title and an event.
Exactly. And Shadow Killer is both a title the wolves have, and this event is what granted him that title.
I like it. And we do know that that's how wolves name people. I mean, Perrin got his name after his first interaction with the White Cloaks.
Mm-hmm.
Young bull with the 2 shining steel horns. That's his axe.
I honestly don't know if Shadow Killer is a name that the wolves have, and it's like a prophecy or not. But I do think he earns that name just for killing the 3 Trollocs. I mean, it could also be for what happened at the Eye of the World, but I honestly don't think they know about it.
Yeah, I don't think so. I'm pulling up here on Perrin's chase after Rand and the Aes Sedai and Lord of Chaos. He tells the wolves they've taken Shadow Killer, and it was reason enough to tip most of the wolves in favor of helping him. They believe this Shadow Killer figure is important, and they do have awe. And then I think this is like wolf prophecy. Like they know about the last hunt, the end of days. Even the wolves have it.
Sure, and they know they're going to be led by the Wolf King.
Mm-hmm. I'm going to stick with this being a pre-existing term, like He Who Comes with the Dawn or the Coromor.
I'm agreeing with that, especially when you consider that these wolves have like a super long memory. They have ancestral memory. They remember what all wolves know. The same
Since the beginning of time.
Yeah. So all of those things really seem to point towards them having an idea that Rand was coming. They know the last hunt is coming.
Yeah. And wolves see a lot of people kill Trollocs. They don't all get special names.
Yeah.
You know?
I mean, Lan kills a bunch of Trollocs.
Yeah. Tangent. Complete. He let the words die as Uno joined them. Aielman and the rocks, the one-eyed man said quietly. This far from the waste? Ingtar said incredulously. Uno somehow managed to look offended without changing his expression. And Ingtar added, No, I don't doubt you. I'm just surprised. He flaming wanted me to see him, or I likely wouldn't have. Uno sounded disgusted at admitting it.
It's very true. The Aiel are good at hiding.
Yeah.
So Perrin learns about the Shadow Killer through the game of telephone.
Yeah.
And we see that's how, because he can only communicate over a relatively short distance with individual wolves, but...
You can telephone stuff, so they can talk to wolves that are the same distance away, and so on. So, we never really got to the bottom on how far that is, but I thought roughly probably a day's travel.
15 miles, for some reason, is what stuck out in my head.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's kind of the conclusion we came to when we talked about it in the Talents episode.
Okay. And so Massima's a dick, which is, not surprising. Which is he immediately, as soon as he sees the Aielman, who's not threatening at all, he just points his lance at him and goes for a full-on charge.
Leaping to a dead gallop in 3 strides. He was not the only one. 4 steel points hurtled toward the man on the ground. Hold, Ingtar shouted. I imagine he sounds more annoyed. But, this group of men are probably all veterans of the Aiel War. Or at least some of them are. So when they see Aielman, just like the innkeeper in Cairhien and others, when they see Aielman, they have like an instant fear reaction.
Totally.
It hasn't even been a generation.
Fight or flight.
Yeah.
Well, and I was reading that it's possible that the Aiel and the Bordermen are fighting in the Blight border where they cross. So, sort of up in the Blight, it's possible they have encountered each other because the Spine of the World doesn't necessarily cut them off.
Yeah.
So they may have, have some encounters in the north there.
It was, I think we heard from Ingtar that Massima served during the Aiel War in what are called the Eastern Marches, which is an area of Shienar that's like, it's on the border of it's like the top right corner on the map. Right. So it's like with the waste on one side, the Blight on the other, and Shienar on the other 2 sides.
So you can see why Massima's maybe on a hair trigger.
Because he expects to be attacked. They expect to be attacked.
Yeah, but Uno doesn't go into a charge.
Yeah, well, I mean, Uno even says, and his bloody face wasn't veiled, so he's not out for killing. But when you see one bloody Aiel, there's always more you don't. Suddenly his eye widened. Burn me if it doesn't look like he bloody wants more than to be seen.
Mm-hmm.
Because he just walks out into the middle of the road with his arms at his sides, casually. If he were trying to attack them, he would have been at it now for a while.
Oh, totally.
He could have killed a couple of them already.
Well, I also like the image where the smoke drifts over and he waves his hand to
Oh yeah,
and that's the first time he moves.
The horses come charging up and skid to a halt, and the first time he moves is to wave the dust away.
It's such a badass move.
Massima pulled in his horse viciously, sawing the reins. The others also stopped, in a cloud of dust not 10 paces from the man. Their lances still held steady on the man's chest. He raised a hand to wave away the dust as it drifted toward him. It was the first move he had made. I kind of want to read the description because it's the first description of an Aielman we get. He was a tall man, with dark skin from the sun and red hair cut short, except for a tail in the back that hung to his shoulders. From his soft, laced knee-high boots to the cloth wrapped loosely around his neck, his clothes were all in shades of brown and gray that would blend into rock or earth. The end of a short horn bow peeked over his shoulder, and a quiver bristled with arrows at his belt at one side. A long knife hung at the other. In his left hand, he gripped a round-hide buckler and 3 short spears, no more than half as long as he was tall, with points fully as long as those of the Shienaran lances. "I have no pipers to play this tune," the man announced, with a smile. "But if you wish the dance," he did not change his stance, but Perrin caught a sudden air of readiness. "My name is Urien, of the Two Spires sept, of the Reyn Aiel. I am a red shield. Remember me."
And we encounter him again
a couple times.
He ends up in Dumai's Wells, I think, is sort of his next big scene.
Yeah. And we know he's in charge. I think I read this earlier. Urien is in charge of all the red shields on this side of the spine of the world.
Okay. So
he was sent as the leader of this group, which I assume are all around the Shienarans. in that place that Perrin's describing at the beginning of the chapter, where he was like, if someone wanted to hide out there, we would never find them.
And we know they can hide anywhere.
And then the Aiel appear.
Right.
Yeah.
But he has some idea of how many are out there because of the wolves.
He knows that there are people out there.
Right. I noticed Perrin immediately looks at Urien and says, he looks like Rand.
Yeah.
Maybe Rand is an Aiel. No shit, Sherlock.
That's what Matt says. Perrin nodded. But it doesn't change anything. No, it doesn't. Matt sounded as if he were talking about something beside what Perrin meant. I think Matt's talking about Rand being a male channeler, and Perrin's just thinking, it doesn't really matter where he came from.
Yeah, Perrin's saying...
It doesn't matter that he's an Aielman.
He's still my friend.
Yeah.
And Matt's saying, it doesn't matter that he's an Aielman, he's a male channeler.
Yeah.
It doesn't change
still
what they think.
Freaks me out.
Yeah, I'm still not going near him.
"We are both far from our own homes," Ingtar said to the Aielman, "and we, at least, have come for other things than fighting." Perrin revised his opinion of Urien's smile. The man actually looked disappointed at not getting the fight.
Oh, yeah, they love it. Well, I'm not sure that they love it, but it's... I don't know.
I always see an air of amusement. I always think of this one scene when 2 or 3 maidens surrounding Myrddraal, and they're tapping their spears on their shields and circling around, and they're kind of toying with it. They're
totally.
Enjoying, they're making it into a real dance. Dance with me, Shadow Man. Where was that then? Because I just remember that. The Dance with Me, Shadow Man.
The Supergirls are trapped. They've been hit over the head. And given a potion, which actually made their headache go away because the guys were idiots. And the Fades show up to bargain with them, and the girls wake up in the background. And the Aiel rush in, kill all the Dark Friends. And then they do the whole Dance with Me, Shadow Man thing.
Yeah.
And then before the battle actually happens, the Supergirls pop out of the back room and just obliterate the Fades. One burns them, one crushes them, the other one, and then I think Nynaeve balefires them.
Geez, there's another description that comes to mind, and I can barely remember where it comes from.
There's a part in the audiobooks where he goes, thrum, 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 thrum.
Yeah.
And that's the Battle of Maldine. Yeah.
There's a couple of times when it comes up. I think Lan might tell a story about it.
Possibly.
From the Aiel War. He just talks about how, I guess that's like a mental tactic. They make all this noise.
Yeah.
Ooh, fill down another hole. Yeah, just like bagpipes, except less annoying than bagpipes. I can say that. I'm a ginger. I actually like bagpipes, but bring us back on track here.
Wise one, my water is yours.
Yeah, we were both far from our homes.
So Urien is stopped because basically he's looking for he who comes with the dawn.
Yeah.
And he sees Verin as a wise one.
Right.
I wanted to talk a little bit about this quote. She says, "Why do you call me that? Do you take me for an Aiel? No, wise one, but you have the look of those who have made the journey to Rhuidean and survived. The years do not touch the wise ones in the same way as other women."
Yeah.
Obviously, wise ones age slowly because they channel.
Even slower than Aes Sedai.
But what it sounds like here is he's saying you have an ageless look about you that you share with the wise ones.
Well, he doesn't say that exactly, but he does imply that there's some shared look to channelers. I see what you're getting at, though. The oath rod.
Yeah.
I don't have an answer.
So that was my question here, is because I was wondering, like, you know, the wise ones, maybe they have like old eyes in a young face often, and that's what he's seeing.
Yeah.
But it sounds to me like he's pointing out agelessness, which we know the wise ones don't have.
And
because they don't swear on the oath rod.
Quite old, isn't she?
Verin is very old. Because she's got gray hair.
Yeah.
And any Aes Sedai with gray hair. But her face is still going to be ageless. You're still not going to be able to tell how old she is from what her face looks like. It's just the gray hair.
She is 149 years old.
That's it.
I thought it was more like 300 or something, too.
I agreed. I thought she was closer to Codswain's age.
This says she was born in 849. And she dies in the year 1000, but this is a year or two before that. This is 998 here.
Yeah, that does seem way too young. I believe you. I just, I always pictured her as much older.
Here, this is from the Watt Wiki. Theron has great hair and is considered to be one of the oldest Aes Sedai alive. Actually, she is 151 at the time of her death.
From what I'm reading, they've put a lower bound of 70 years and an upper bound of around 200 years on her age, based on statements she's made. So 150 fits right in there.
Yeah, she's mid-powerful.
Right. So I guess she should look middle age is what I'm thinking, because she's, you know, her life expectancy is around 600. Cut that in half with the oath rod, so put it at 300. And at 150, she's about halfway through that.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know many people who have gray hair at 40.
No.
But that seems to be what they're saying with Verin, is that she got her gray hair.
Well, there's some similarity. There's, for some reason, Urien can tell that she can channel.
Right. Sorry, we went down a hole on that one. Yeah, I mean, at the very least, she shares some
traits.
With the wise ones. Yeah.
Somebody in Discord a second ago suggested the look of a small but very powerful, forceful woman.
Let's go with that.
Yeah.
Let's not say that Jordan didn't make a mistake and think that channeling gave you the ageless look.
No, I mean, because Urien is also implying that, like, just because a woman goes to Rhuidean and survives does not mean she can channel.
That's true.
So this could also imply just the look of a well-experienced, not green woman, if you know what I mean. Yeah. I'll start reading here. An excited look appeared on the Aes Sedai's face, but Ingtar spoke impatiently. "We are following dark friends in Trollocs, Urien. Have you seen any sign of them?" "Trollocs? Here?" Urien's eyes brightened. It is one of the signs of the prophecies we speak of. When the Trollocs come out of the Blight again, we will leave the threefold land and take back our places of old. There was muttering from the Shienarans, but what it actually means is they'll become servants again.
That's true. Yeah. What the Shienarans think it's like they're going to have another Aiel war.
Yeah.
Yeah. I like how Verin gets excited because she wants to ask about the wise ones.
Verin asks about Rhuidean. How are the girls chosen? She starts asking questions. Urien's face went flat, his eyes hooded. I cannot speak of it, wise one.
Oh, I did like the description of the waste. This is the first time we hear it called the threefold land.
Yeah.
And I think this is one of the few times we actually get what the threefolds are. A shaping stone to make us, a testing ground to prove our worth, and a punishment for our sin.
What sin? Matt asked. Perrin caught his breath, waiting for the spears in Urien's hand to flash. The Aiel shrugged. So long ago it was that none remember, except the wise ones and the clan chiefs, and they will not speak of it. It must have been a very great sin if they cannot bring themselves to tell us, but the Creator punishes us well.
And we know that they get to experience that sin through the Terangrial.
Through the eyes of their ancestors.
And that was the abandoning of the Oath of Peace.
Yeah.
And revealing that secret is what causes the bleakness in the Aiel.
Was it called the Way of the Leaf at the time?
Yeah.
It makes sense with the association with Avendasora.
Mm-hmm.
There's a moment of tension, and Verin says, I am not a wise one as you know them, Urien, she said insistently. I am Aes Sedai. Tell me what you can say of Rhuidean. And
now, of course, that freaks him out because the Aiel have this story that they have failed the Aes Sedai, that is their great sin.
And that when they encounter the Aes Sedai again, they will be destroyed.
Exactly. So he's just expecting to be destroyed whenever he encounters an Aes Sedai, just blown out of the air.
And the prophecy is true, but they're not obliterated physically. Their way of life is changed forever.
I'm nodding.
The man who had been ready to face 20 men now looked as if he wished for an escape from this one plump woman with graying hair. I can tell you only what is known to all. Rhuidean lies in the lands of the Aiel, the 13th clan. I cannot speak of them except to name them. None may go there, save women who wish to become wise ones, or men who wish to be clan chiefs. Perhaps the Aiel choose among them. I do not know. Many go, few return. And those are marked as what they are, wise ones or clan chiefs. No more can I say, Aes Sedai.
And the Aiel means the true Aiel? So those are the Aiel who stuck with the Way of the Leaf, who didn't fail the Aes Sedai and abandon the promise to stick with the Way of the Leaf. Unfortunately, they were wiped out. Or bred out? I'm not really sure exactly how they went extinct. We know they were fading, and that's why they built Rhuidean, but we don't know what caused the ultimate extinction of them. I think what happened is they just ended up all taking up arms, and those who didn't were killed.
Or eventually just died out, the ones that still kept to the Way of the Leaf. Because there's two splits, right?
Right, because there was the split before they crossed into the Waste, and that split resulted in the Tinkers and the Aiel.
Mm-hmm.
And then, again, they split when they started to commit violence, and that created the Aiel and the Aiel.
After some Aiel children were kidnapped, a few young members donned their dust veils and launched an impromptu rescue mission. They were able to save the kidnapped members, but one of them, Luwin, accidentally killed one of the raiders. Because of this, Luwin was not allowed to return to the Aiel wagons. However, I'm reading out of the Watt Wiki, by the way, Luwin insisted that he was still Aiel and followed the Gen's wagons in order to provide protection. Over time, various other Gen drifted over to follow Luwin, and their different attitudes eventually gave rise to the various warrior societies, septs, and clans. I had to refresh myself. I'm not sure if that was interesting to anyone else, but...
Sure. So basically, the Aiel clans rose up as protectors of the Aiel.
Yeah.
And they slowly, more and more of the Aiel became warriors and joined the warrior clans until there were no Aiel left.
I'm nodding.
And apparently the Tinkers split off over the issue of the ter'angreal.
Yeah, that was the first split.
Is it just that the Tinkers wanted to abandon the ter'angreal and the cuttings? It's interesting, they stuck with the promise to hold to the peace, the way of the leaf.
Yeah.
But they abandoned the promise to take care of the ter'angreal. Yeah, I always thought they abandoned the name Aiel because they gave up their promise to take care of the Chora cuttings and the ter'angreal. So Verin assures Urien that she's not going to kill him, even though he offers to dance with the lightnings. And she says, "I'm not going to hurt you unless you try and hurt me." And he says, "I wouldn't try and hurt you. You're not wedded to the spear. You're not a maiden."
"Bring your lightnings," Aes Sedai. "I will dance with them." The Aiel thought he was going to die, and he was not afraid. Perrin realized his mouth was opened and closed it with a snap. "What I would not give," Verin murmured, gazing up at Urien, "to have you in the White Tower, or just willing to talk." She questions him some more, and we get a bit about he who comes with the dawn, why the Aiel are here, and what they're looking for.
And that leads to him showing the ancient symbol of the Aes Sedai, the fang and the flame together.
He draws it in the dirt.
Yeah. And of course, Ingtar doesn't recognize it, but the boys saw the banner. Or no, the banner has the dragon on it. Why do the boys know about the ancient symbol of the Aes Sedai? Where have they seen that before?
The seals?
That's true. They did see the seal. That's a good one.
"It is said there will be great signs and portents of his coming. I saw that you were from Shienar by your escort's armor, and you had the look of a wise one." He assumes the Shienarans are Verin's escorts. I mean, they are in effect now, but yeah. She caught them. She made them. She's co-opting their journey.
Everyone ends up doing what the wise ones and the Aes Sedai want.
Yeah.
I think he even says that once, that
it's when Verin's questioning him, and at some point Urien hesitates, and Verin says, "Tell only what you are willing to say. I do not know what your wise ones do, but I will not harm you or try to force you." "So the wise ones say," Urien said dryly, "even a clan chief must have a strong belly to avoid doing as they want." So it's like the same, the same way kings cringe when Aes Sedai tell them what to do or suggest something. You kind of have to.
Yeah, and if you don't,
things could go really badly.
They're going to make sure you do it.
They're not going to directly hurt you, but maybe indirectly.
You're just going to regret it for the rest of your life.
You may get rolled over.
Maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow, but someday, and for the rest of your life. And so Verin does a little bit of Aes Sedai truth twisting here. "I cannot tell you where he is, Urien, and I have heard no signs or portents to guide you to him." She doesn't know exactly where he is, but she knows who he is, and she leaves that part out. And she's seen signs and portents, but none of those will lead Urien to Rand.
Yeah.
It's some pretty dirty word twisting there. She manages to tell him nothing about Rand, even though she knows an awful lot.
And this probably fills in a bunch of knowledge for Verin, a bunch of knowledge gaps. When Urien's saying, "He will come from the west, beyond the spine of the world, but be of our blood. He will go to Rhuidean and lead us out of the threefold land." This is when he makes the sign on the ground. But that is because for a moment I was like, well, how does Verin know that they're talking about the same person? But it makes perfect sense that he would come from the west, but be of the Aiel blood, because Rand is obviously an Aielman, or pretty obviously.
Totally. And she knows that underneath the seal he will conquer.
Yeah.
That's a pretty common prophecy. So I think that once Urien draws that symbol, that's why she destroys it with her foot, because she sees what it is, and very quickly
she's like, "Oh God, I don't want anyone else to know about this."
Exactly. So she gets rid of it really quickly, so that no one else can sort of make their own conclusions. And at that moment, she knows that he's talking about Rand al'Thor.
She scrubs it out,
if not before.
And then, like you were saying, Verin says, "I have heard of no signs or portents to guide you to him." "Then I will continue my search," Urien responds. It was not a question, yet Urien waited until she nodded, before he eyed the Shienarans proudly, challengingly, then turned his back on them. He walked away smoothly, and vanished into the rocks without looking back.
True badasses never look back.
"We've wasted valuable time," Ingtar announced loudly. "We'll ride harder to make it up." "Yes," Verin said, "we must ride harder." Ingtar glanced at her, but the Aes Sedai was staring at the smudged ground. where her foot had obliterated the symbol.
So yeah, she's definitely like focusing on that symbol and thinking about the fact that Rand is he who comes with the dawn.
It's the end of the world.
Yeah.
For sure. A couple lines down. Matt leaned close. Yeah.
Armageddon?
I was so blown away when we made that connection the other day. Tarmangeddon, Armageddon, how did I never put that together before?
I'm honestly not sure.
Yeah. Matt leaned close to Perrin. Do you think he was talking about Rand? It's crazy, I know, but even Ingtar thinks he's Aiel. I don't know, Perrin said. Everything has been crazy since we got mixed up with Aes Sedai. Softly, as if to herself, Verin spoke, still staring at the ground. It must be a part, and yet how? Does the wheel of time weave threads into the pattern of which we know nothing? Or does the Dark One touch the pattern again? Perrin felt a chill. Verin looked up at the soldiers removing their armor. Hurry, she commanded with more snap than Ingtar and Uno combined. We must hurry.
I'm sorry, but the idea of Verin as a clueless, out-of-it brown is not accurate, and all you have to do is read this.
Yeah.
I mean, just watch her I guess she's kind of muttering to herself for a minute.
I really, really liked that scene. Meeting the first Aiel in the series is just exciting.
Whereas, I'm totally focused on Verin. I love her reactions.
Oh yeah, I mean that's interesting too. Yeah. But I feel close to the Aiel in some way. I mean, I got the Aiel shield and spears tattoo. It was my first one ever. My first tattoo ever.
You would make a good Aiel.
It got me into running. I'm also a ginger.
Yeah. I always connect more with Gaul when Perrin pulls him out of the cage. That, to me, is sort of what I think of as our first Aiel encounter.
Yeah. I thought about the Aiel a lot when I was backpacking through the Southwest in 2016. God, 2 years ago already. But there are some parts out in Mojave Desert and Anzo Borrega, I think I'm saying that right, National Park. Mm-hmm. I would look around and imagine I was in the Aiel's Waste in the Threefold Land. Because it's dry out there,
yeah. But
there is life. You can find water. You just have to know what you're doing. But if you were to just send an unexperienced person out there, people die every year.
Right.
Totally.
And you have to know, and the watering holes, I assume, are well marked. And
you kind of have to know what you're doing.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people wouldn't suspect that, something I had to get really used to is having done my share of backpacking on the East Coast, and especially in the Southeast, is that there it can get hot. It can get hot in Georgia in the summertime, but it's a wet hot. There's water everywhere all the time, and you're shaded in a lot of places. You're walking through trees. So I did most of the AT in shorts and a cut-off t-shirt. But in the Southwest, especially on the PCT and at the high elevation stuff, I wore long but thin pants and a button-down shirt just like that. And I wore this huge wide-brimmed hat, and that's enough.
That's where you want linen pants and linen shirts.
Yeah, totally. And that's enough to cover me most of the time. I still got tan, but my hands, because I never wear gloves. Some people did that because the sun will be on your hands all day.
Yeah.
But my hands were a brown color, and I'm a ginger, guys. So my skin naturally is a little darker than paper. The one shade down.
With a slight, reddish tinge, because you can sort of see the blood through the skin.
Yeah.
So, that level of pale.
But especially you hold your two walking poles, as I'm showing Seth, but so your fists are basically out in front of you all day. I'm hoping to do a good enough job describing this to audio only people. So your hands are in fists, as if I was about to fist bump with both my fists all day long. So that triangle on that is made by your thumb and your wrist and the way your fingers are was just I'm trying to think of it was like chestnut. It was dark. Your skin can really if you slow exposure over time can really make a difference.
Yeah, melatonin's a pretty important thing.
It does make me wonder how many Aielmen die of skin cancer, though. I mean, the wise ones have some healing, right?
Yeah, I'm guessing not a lot of them live that long, but
I think they don't have very good healing. Is that right? Not as good as the Aes Sedai?
No.
Don't they have very little talent for healing?
I think she says there's when Nynaeve heals Avienda's friend who gets stabbed. She says, "I've heard of one wise one who can do this in a sept way far away, but I thought it was fiction."
That's right.
So it's not very common.
Yeah.
Among the wise ones, there's probably no one who can heal the way Nynaeve heals. There's only a few that can channel. So I'm guessing cancer. Like I said, I think the only reason cancer wouldn't be an issue is because they die early. But also, they're pretty well covered up. I mean, they are also...
That's a good point.
...only really exposing their hands and face. And their face, they've got their...
Even their faces mostly covered.
And do they wear gloves?
No. But, I mean, I don't think that would hurt you as bad as... because they say it's a percentage of skin... you increase your risk based on the percentage of skin exposed and amount of time. So if you have one, just your hands are open to the air all the time, that's a tiny percentage of high exposure.
Right.
So that's not going to kill you.
And I feel like our hands are I don't know if this is true or not, but are a slightly tougher skin.
It's different.
Yeah. No, but I've definitely gotten so badly sunburned that I've been literally just sick from the sunburn. That's the worst when you're just sunsick because
it's happened to me before.
Red. Ugh.
And it feels like you have a
dying.
fever.
Yeah.
It's awful.
I've also was hungover from too much tequila. So
ooh, yeah, that's a rough combo.
Oh man, we were. I was on the beach of Lake Erie drinking tequila. And I was out, I don't know, maybe 2 hours, probably less than that. And I was lobster red and losing skin left and right. I mean, it was just the altitude and the direction of the sun and the fact that there was no cloud cover. I just got fried. And I've got some Mediterranean skin, so I can definitely tan, but I've got a Swedish mother, so I go super, super pale when I don't have any sun exposure. So it takes me a couple of weeks, and I can turn a pretty deep brown, but I can also burn pretty easily if I'm not careful. Whereas I get the feeling you pretty much will always burn if you're not careful.
You have to build up. I can build up a tolerance too.
Yeah. Have you seen those images of truck drivers, really old truck drivers that have significant aging on one side of their face that's exposed to the sun?
Yeah. There's one kind of internet famous picture.
Sun exposure does a number on us. It's not good for you. It's like a constant dose of low-level radiation.
Thank you for listening to the Wheel of Time Spoilers podcast. Rate us in the Apple Podcast app or support us on Patreon. Is that good enough?